Now, we're so sorry for the delay. We're supposed to start by 4, but we're starting now. So, you're welcome to the first edition of FUTURUM. So, before we start, I'd like us to do something really quick. Can we all bring back our phones, please? And open our Instagram app. I want us to follow FUTURUM Consulting locally. Follow FUTURUM Consulting. Yes, FERBIUM. FUTURUM Consulting. Waiting for us, please. Okay, while we're doing that, so this is an annual award for innovations in engineering. For innovations in engineering, so we'll be having our speakers to come up to present to us. And after presenting, we have judges here, we have judges online, and we have judges physical. We have Dr. Olawale Akinwale coming and please. Also online, we have Mrs. Rosalie Ilori, on them scared of life. We also have Mr. Kes Atuyota, and we also have Dr. Adedayo Omotunde. And lastly, we have Mr. Olaiwola Kabudasida. So we have our judges online and we have our judges physically. I'm so sorry. I also recognize Mrs. Opium. How do you Thank you so much. So right now we are starting, and I would like Dr. Omotunde to be his own speech. Dr. Omotunde, can you hear us, please?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I would like to give your welcome speech, sir.
Oh, okay. Uh, Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for coming out to be part of this finale of the first season of the FUTURUM Awards. I was having technical glitches. I thought you hadn't started, so I was just there on the Zoom call. I didn't know the event had started. So I want to understand, have you guys sang the school song or haven't?
Because we haven't.
You haven't. So we must start with that one now. Great Ife.
Great.
Greatest Ife. Okay, let's go. Great Ife. Great Ife.
Africa's
Most beautiful campus. Progressive. Aluta against all oppression. Forward ever, backward
never.
culture. Success. Great Ife. Great.
Great.
There is another great Ife. Is a great. Thanks, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a little bit of delay in the feedback. So it was a little bit of struggle to hear the song clearly. I could hear Kes, I could hear Folu, but when you ask big men to sing, it's always come out in a very strange way. So Kes, I liked your baritone. Thank you for that. So why are we here today? What exactly are we doing? Nigerian universities were on strike for 8 months last year, primarily due to paucity of funds. The academia were complaining about funding of universities. In the same year, universities in the United States spent $85 billion on research. $85 billion. To put it in perspective, $85 billion is roughly 3 times the budget of Nigeria. And that's what American universities spent on research last year, while we were struggling to even keep our doors open in Nigerian universities. Is there anyone in the room today that is not familiar with Google? Can you show your hands if you've never heard the word Google before? How about the World Wide Web? Is there anybody in the room that is not familiar with the World Wide Web? I doubt it. How about Oracle, the company called Oracle? Have you not heard about them? Now, what is the commonality between all these companies I've mentioned, or all these things I've mentioned? They are all outputs of university research. Raspberry Pi is an output of university research. Oxford University partnered AstraZeneca to come up with COVID vaccination. One of the reasons why we're struggling with funding of universities in Nigeria, can you guys still hear me clearly? Okay. One of the reasons why we're struggling, while universities in the Western world are awash with funds, is simply because the result of the investment made in those universities in the Western world are concrete innovations that solve problems for the society. One of the reasons why we're struggling with funding of Nigerian universities is because the output of the universities, the output of the research, oftentimes just ends up, in the papers you submit, in the dissertation you submit, which nobody ever looks at again. They're on the top shelf gathering dust, right? Value never lacks money. When you come up with interventions, when you come up with innovations that solve concrete problems in the society, money is a natural consequence. It always comes. So the struggle we are having with funding universities will become a thing of the past when the output of the university actually solves real concrete challenges that we're having in the society. As an example, in Nigeria, we have so many issues, practical challenges that we're having, and the university has experts. We say we have experts when it comes to food engineering. You offer food technology as one of the engineering courses in OAU. Yet we have abundance of food that go to waste every year, simply because we have no way of preserving the fruit when they're in season. And then when they're off season, they become super expensive. Look at tomatoes as an example. When it's the season, the price is probably a third of the price that you pay when it's off season. Why can't you find preservatives? Why can't you find mechanisms where we can actually, using innovation, using interventions from, the research that you guys are conducting, why can't we innovate to create value? Our roads, we have so many potholes. Why? Because when rainwater touches asphalt and it doesn't drain quickly, the asphalt gives way. We have chemical engineering department. We have material engineering department in the faculty. Why is it that no one has been able to come up with some kind of research to say what can we mix with the asphalt to ensure that when rainwater collects on it, it doesn't damage the asphalt? If the university comes up with such an innovation, how much do you think the government will be willing to spend to actually scale that out across the country? Because it's going to save us all the costs that we incur in repairing the roads, in resurfacing the roads year in, year out. So there's so many things or areas that the university can actually come in to create value for the society. And then you ask yourselves as students, how is this your problem? What's in it for me? Why do I care about this? Why don't I just do the minimum required, get my A or B and graduate? But the reality is that people that launched Google, people that launched Facebook, that has become Meta, companies that have become, in some cases, valued at $1 trillion, were students like you. And they took on challenges. They channeled all their intelligence, all their academic acumen towards finding practical solutions for the societies that they found themselves in. And then those solutions over time became so good that they could scale out to become global solutions. And the challenge I have for you students out there today is, what stops you from also having similar aspiration? Elon Musk at some point in 2021 became the richest man ever, right? He was just a South African. He's just a South African, right? He moved to Canada for masters, then moved to the United States. What stops you from coming up with solutions to our challenges? The telecom operators in Nigeria today spend a truckload of money every month running diesel generators to keep the base stations working. What stops you from helping them research battery technology that they can actually use in storing energy from renewable sources, from solar panel, from wind? If you can create that, how much funding do you think the telecoms operators will be willing to give for such a research that will reduce their OPEX, the operational expenditure, probably by 50–40%? So the problem is not lack of money. The problem is that there's a disconnect between research and practice. Practice, there are clear needs, there are clear expectations, and they're willing to fund anyone that is able to take on those challenges. But when the university is producing outputs that has no correlation with what the industry requires, then there's a gap. The $85 billion that we said American universities spent on research in 2022 didn't come from the government. It came from corporates that were willing to invest money back in doing universities. So what we are aiming to achieve with the FUTURUM initiative is to help bridge the gap between research and practice. We want to bring, and we have a few of them joining today. I just saw Mr. Bumi just now. Kunle as well joined. Mr. Bumi works with Google in the UK. Mr. Kunle works with Meta. They will share, rub minds with you, explain how they've navigated their own career path and how they got to where they got to. And the whole idea is to put you guys in touch with guys in the industry, alumni of the university. They've been around, they've seen everything you've seen, and you can learn a lot from them. And based on their insights, they can help shape how you think, how you work on this research going forward. I know season 1, we started a bit late because of the strikes and so on, but then going forward, this will be initiated at the beginning of the session. So you have students being influenced by alumni in the industry who will tell you, you know what, I'm willing to contribute 150,000 naira as an example to your research effort, but these are the topics that make sense to the industry. Generative AI is a new area. The entire world is racing to become the leader at it. Most of it is actually open source. Absolutely nothing stops us in Nigeria from becoming the frontliner in that. Nothing, except that we don't prioritize meaningful research. So what we are looking for is to create that connection between industry and research and bridge the gap such that your research effort going forward will become more meaningful, will become, outputs that are potentially going to be productified to create value. And rather than you graduating and you're applying for jobs here and there, you actually have companies that are bidding to acquire what you've developed and to productify it. So you go into, the industry, not as a job seeker, but instead as someone who already, is in position to become a business owner. So that's the general spirit behind the initiative. I know we don't have so much time. We've lost a lot of time due to technical issues. So I'll stop there for now, right? I welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to the FUTURUM initiative. This is season 1. Season 2 is going to be a lot bigger, but let's set the ball rolling. I'm grateful for all the lecturers that have joined on site. My siblings are on the call as well to give us moral support. I thank you so much for joining. I thank all the assessors. We have people that have joined from UK, people that have joined from the United States. This time is actually prime time, both in UK and the United States, right? So prioritizing this to join, it's a big sacrifice, and I'm very grateful for this. So I thank everyone, right? I thank Dr. Wale, who has organized all this. I know it's stretching me a bit, but I'm very grateful. So at this point in time, I'm going to hand over back to you guys so we can start with the presentations and go along with the program. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. How would I say so right now, we're moving on to the project presentation, and I'd like the evaluation criteria and rules for the presenters. Conference area for Dr. King.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yes, so I want to say congratulations to you all. So without wasting much of our time, we're going to be assessing you based on the originality and the creativity of your work. Okay, so then the second one is going to be on the technical merits, and then the visibility of the idea, the impact, and then the last one, presentation and delivery. So for the originality and creativity, that will be, you can get a total point of 20 points there. So basically, I just want to assure you that we're not here to witch hunt you in any way. We're not looking out for any fault in your idea. But basically, to see how well you're able to, pitch the idea to us, to all the judges, and as much as possible, make us to see reason why we should, as in why a potential sponsor should fund the project. So that's very important. So the criterion is going to evaluate the extent to which your project showcases fresh and inventive ideas. We also assess whether the project offers a unique approach, the method you're using, or innovative solution, or any novel concept that you're bringing in. We're looking out for that. And then the essence of all these is just to be sure that, just to evaluate the method that you are using now compared to existing solutions in the field. So definitely originality and creativity demonstrate the ability to think outside the box, your creative thinking skills, and then to see how you can now present that too. So for the technical merits, here the focus is on the technical aspect of your work with engineering students. So we're going to examine the technical complexity, the implementation, and then the proficiency of the idea. So we'll also assess the quality of the engineering principles, the techniques, the methodologies, and then the technologies that you have used to actualize the project. So project demonstrating strong technical merits are expected to showcase a deep understanding even of the subject matter, and then able to apply all those techniques to achieve that. So for the visibility, here we are basically assessing the practicality and viability of the project. I'm sure you will all agree with me that not all ideas are actually visible. So we are looking out to evaluate, how successfully can you actually implement or execute these projects within given constraints, because that's very important. And constraint, we're talking about time, the resources, and then the available technology as well. So we also consider things like how scalable is this project that you're talking about? So how easily can we scale it? What's the cost effectiveness, compared to other techniques? And then realistic implementation potential of it as well. So overall, visibility demonstrates the project's ability to be translated into real-world application. So for the impacts, which is also a very strong one, so you can see all the points carry 20 points. So you're competing for 20 points here, maximum of 20 points. So well, so you have a scale of 0 to 20. I'm sure there's nobody here that will get that 0 we're talking about. We're all aiming for the 20. So for the impacts, so the impacts will evaluate the potential significance and broader implication of the project. We're going to assess the potential positive effects of your projects will have on society, industry, or specific user group. So basically, we have the social and then the technical impact as well. So projects that demonstrate a strong potential for meaningful impact will likely receive very high. So, and then the final one, presentation and delivery. So you have 10 minutes for your presentation. So please ensure you manage your time wisely. So after that, there's going to be 5 minutes question and answer session from the judges. So, and then here, basically, the criterion focuses on how effectively the project is communicated and presented to the judges and audience. So we're looking out for clarity, the organization, and then professionalism that you put in here, because I'm sure you will all agree with me that communication skill is a very, very important one that you must have. So effective communication skill, precise explanation, and engaging delivery contributes to a very strong point here. So please take note of that. So yeah, so that's basically all. Okay, so sorry, I have an update for you. So for the presentation, because of the time that we have lost, so we want to try and reduce it to 8 minutes. So as much as possible, let's see what you can do. So basically your introduction, just try as much as possible to see how you can buy time there. So thank you very much. Over to the hands.
So what we are presenting, communication skills, and all. So try to carry evidence along, try to carry pages along. You can also try to be a legend. You understand what I'm saying? You can also try to be a legend. So we just try to carry everyone along, explain, let us hear what you are saying this evening. So you can always support our champion while we are presenting. You all understand this. So the first person I'll be calling or to present is the other person than Emmanuel Olatek. You can put out.
So good evening, everyone. And my project is on development of an instrument for automatic schizophrenia diagnosis. So this is the outline for this presentation, and let's put this slide into the background. Thank you. So there is a mental disorder in which there is always a recurring mental episode. There are always a recurring psychotic episodes. And up to date, there is no known objective instrument for diagnosing SZ up to date. Methods existing for diagnosing SZ are subjective. They are based on our clinician's inference and clinician experience. And computational approaches are not giving generalizable results up to date. So conclusions are up to date. There is no objective method for diagnosing schizophrenia. So moving on, it's very important to have a point of care device for diagnosing schizophrenia. Why? Because a patient specific treatment is possible, and methods for reducing cost of treatment of schizophrenia becomes possible when there is an objective method of diagnosing schizophrenia. So let's recap all of this background into a much more refined problem statement, which is just made up of 2 points. Now, the first point is that schizophrenia can be treated. Schizophrenia can be treated if detected before the first psychotic episode. But again, methods of diagnosing schizophrenia are subjective, and they require psychotic episodes to already be manifested. So this is very, very important to have an objective instrument for diagnosing schizophrenia. Now, our solution involves using having an EEG system with a laptop or a PC, running some models that can map EEG data and EEG features to schizophrenic status, while also the laptop runs a verified way of acquiring data, so that generalizable results can be developed, generalizable results can be generated. So that's just a couple of our solution. So again, the major aim is to develop an objective method, which is an improved method of diagnosing schizophrenia. Now, moving on, let's go into the review. What we learned from reviewing last week, we learned that there are majorly 4 EEG classes of signals used to diagnose schizophrenia. And they are shown here the ERP, the resting state EEG, oscillatory activity, and these are just few among many. This is what is mostly used from literature. And among these classes,
sorry, someone online has said please slow down this.
Okay. So among these classes, the most commonly used are the mismatch negativity, the positive entropy, and the auditory steady state response from literature. They are mostly used individually, and I'm going to be combining them. Now, moving on, we also learned from literature that using all of these features independently, they produce very good results, very nice looking results. They have been. We see that on the right here, the sample size for all of these results on one feature, not combining features, is very limited. Very few get up to 100, and which is the reason why their results are not generalizable. And that's speaking of the computation approaches. So, which is the reason why we are looking at methods of creating systems that produce generalizable results. So, the conclusion from literature review is that since existing works make use of one feature, we are going to be expanding. I'm going to be expanding the feature space, and I'm going to be combining the MMN, quasi entropy, and quantitative steady state response features to support each of them. Now, that's the conclusion from the review, and that helps to define methodology. Now, in defining methodology, because we want to create a generalized method of acquisition, generalized protocol, we have to look at existing methods, existing biomarker methods, that existing EEG features, and existing protocol. We have to develop a universal dark system, which is a universal or generalized data acquisition system, and of course, after data and developed price engine, or what most people will call a model. Yeah. So let's go a bit into the methodology now. Protocol, we try to reproduce results and of course extrapolate results. But from the results we produced, I came up with a generalized protocol, and that's shown on the lower part of the screen. First rest, arithmetic, second rest, and auditory tasks protocol. Now, moving on, yeah, so the software, the data acquisition software, the MMN tone generator, and so many other software that are developed to have a generic protocol implementation was implemented using C# and Visual C#. And of course, the part of tested in Python, the purposes of C# and Visual C#. Now, this is just a picture of the developed software during a session for data acquisition. And of course, on the next slide, you see setting the time for the parameters and also acquiring subject info of the subject on which data is being acquired from. So moving on, this is an interface of the MMN generator. And this is a video of the MMN generator. I'd love to show you that because of time. Because of time, I won't be able to show you guys. Now, moving on, also an handheld computer was developed for the clinicians because we always need the clinicians. Now, the clinicians need to be able to notify if they have any issue with data during data processing support. So, yeah, the handheld computer was developed for the clinicians for that purpose. Now, moving on, I integrated all of these parts, the handheld computer, and all other parts, I integrated them into the singular software that I showed before, the generic software. I had not been patronizing the driver, and then provide it to 30 subjects over a period of 2 months. So, moving on, also, this is a video, because of time, I would like to proceed now and come out to the video during the Q&A session. So, yeah, in developing the inference engine, it's made up of 3 parts: the processing, feature extraction, and of course, what we all call the machine learning model. Now, for the processing, as you can see, the compulsory from Peabody and back transfer training and the baseline correction is very, very important. They are compulsory. All of us are optional. All of us are optional based on what method gives the best results they will be used. So now moving on, I talk about the feature extraction of the inference pipeline. Now, after the data processing, I move on to computing the features, mismatch utility, coordination, steady state response, quality entropy, and the pass-through and standardization is very the model is able to complete them well. And also, yeah, the machine learning methods, considering neural networks, and simple methods, and boosting methods. That's about the feature extraction. Now, so these are just some things that we encountered in developing and computing each of these features. Now, I had new problems with the quasi-entropy computation because libraries is not really available. I have to use a library and legacy simplification how to develop manual algorithm computation review. And yeah, the mismatch computing features are generated as images montage images and reinforcement. They can use this CNN and other image classification networks, and also the ESSR and specific programs or conditions in completing the behavioral transform in other complex algorithms. Now, after completing these features, in order to support these features or to improve their discriminability, I make use of majorly the common spatial patterns and the principal component analysis, and all others are still being used, like geometry. So just that about the inference developments. So I would like to show you some of the results that are generated, which shows that this project is very feasible. We can have a system that can objectively diagnose schizophrenia based on EEG data and EEG data alone. Now, so this is from a control subject, and you can see that from the LZ electrode, between 0.1 seconds and 0.2 seconds, the mismatch negativity occurs. And you can find that within the T3, the T5 also, and also the CZ. Some are much more smoother than the others. And also, moving on, you have that occurring in a patient, but it's much more centered around 0. So you have it around 0.2 seconds, and you have it around the FZ, the CZ, you have it around C5 also. Now, and this is also for another patient between 0.1 and 0.2 seconds, but much more around the FZ and the C3, C5. Now, moving on from that, taking the average of all of the mismatch negativity waveform computed, you see that the mismatch negativity is predominant in the FP1, is predominant in the C3, the CZ, T5, T5, and the F4, and we have the F4, yes. Yeah, so there is predominant in those electrodes, and they are actually able to, a very good extent, separate the schizophrenics. Okay, so yeah, the montage plot is shown here. This is the montage plot of the NMN values, and you can see that this is from one subject, and there's looking at the third row across different subjects. You can see there's constant there's constant activation of the web. Another class of subjects, and also the NMN values here shows that the temporal electrodes T3, the F8, F7 will generate best classification results. They are much more linearly separately. Then moving on, the auditory steady state response features need to be improved. The need feature improvement algorithms will need some more feature engineering. And the same for the fuzzy entropy. The fuzzy entropy correlation matrix shows that there's actually meaningful information, and also it also shows that the fuzzy entropy feature might be able to generate a regression model that explains the extent of the schizophrenic disorder. Then, yeah, so for the future of this project, I'm hoping to establish methods of using this software internationally in other places, and also selling data, how the data that is being generated, how it can be sold out and used for larger research purposes in larger scale. So, thank you. These are my timelines for the next action steps. Yeah, I need to expand my data sets. Yes, and much more high analysis, improvement of videos, and yeah, I obtain the best model. So, yeah, thank you. What would you like to do that? So right now we're moving on to questions from our judges. Judges online and judges on site. Any questions, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, I would like to know what inspired you to take on this research.
Yeah, so my main inspiration for picking up the research is, if you look across the health sector, in various areas of the health sector, orthopedic, stroke, they have objective methods in diagnosing whatever ailments they specialize in. But within the mental health sector, not just schizophrenia alone, there is the problem of the mental health sector not having an objective method of diagnosing any mental illness. And schizophrenia, I think, is worst because it seems to spread its wings, its symptoms into those of other mental disorders such as bipolar disorders. So my major for solving this is first of all, yeah, I'm much more skilled towards medical projects, yes. But at the same time, also solving the real problem of having an objective method for first of all diagnosing schizophrenia, then improving that to diagnosing other mental ailments that occur in the mental health sector. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Kes speaking. So my question to you is basically, in terms of industry impact, do you see any kind of reusability apart from the use for schizophrenia? Do you think that it can be repurposed? Are there other kind of diseases that can be tracked in this way?
Kes, so sorry about that. We couldn't hear you. It was
okay. Can you hear me?
Could you take that again? Maybe also.
Okay. So my question is, how do you see in terms of repurposability? As in, can this also be repurposed, this solution, or is just one use case alone? Is it just for schizophrenia, or you think that it can be used for other kind of diseases? And also in terms of the model, because I saw the concept diagram in terms of how you manage the data. Do you think that the way the data is managed can also be used to scale in other types of disease management systems or disease tracking systems?
So let's start with simple ways and plan is going and I can't see
okay, let me type the question. Can you use this for other health use cases? Okay, I think I've typed it.
Can you see this for this in other health cases? In other health cases, yeah.
Oh, so yes, this can also be used in other health cases. That this can also be used in other health cases. Can also be used in diagnosing other mental disorders. But as the first step for the project of those students, we are starting with schizophrenia. And really because so there's a saying among the mental health clinicians that schizophrenia is the background of psychiatry. And that's because if you're able to diagnose schizophrenia and treat schizophrenia successfully, then diagnosing and treating other mental health disorders becomes easier. So yeah, using this same instrument, yeah, it can be used for other it can be used for other in other mental health sectors. Within the mental health and it can be expanded to other mental health. So for instance, looking a bit outside mental health, we have cases where we are using ECG and EEG. We're also using a system running some models, some feature extraction and machine learning models. We are trying to use them so we can address the and some other elements. Also, yes, encouraging, ask them not easy to give a presentation and make it to give a presentation and answer the questions that way.
So next on my list, I'll be calling on. So next on my list, I'll be calling Fawaz Udola. My parents belong to Fawaz Udola. Let's also clapping on some time.
Yes. Sorry, for those online, the audio quality online seems to be a little poor. So what to try is something a little different and English for everyone, not just you. So someone, if you don't mind, once you can use this PC, the audio of this PC, if that will make it easier to get online. Okay. That makes sense. And so in other words, it's long. So sorry. That's news that I will take on the forget. Try and let's see. And from your mutes.
So I see. Yes.
Speak up so that everyone can hear. Good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron and me and my colleague. We start we all know what they actually do from terrorists from banditry, from kidnapping, and always suffering from rape now in Nigeria. And then the government will be like every single budget of the government in every year paying to use about $20 billion sometimes to like
I mean 20 billion naira, so for equipment, spice, security, first in Nigeria. So our problem statements, the problem now is manual surveillance system so far from some polling challenges. The first one is it's hard for humans to maintain focus on monitoring continuously. Then also we have monitoring of multiple screens, showing videos from surveillance camera is challenging by the one. The third one also security guards falling asleep during their work shift. The fourth one providing 24/7 monitoring requires guards to work and therefore increasing costs. In order to address it, an automated surveillance system is robust with various sensors required in our project. The objective of this project is to build a small landing for the can take like of the robots where devices can autonomously avoid obstacles using our CNN, the convolutional neural network, and also operate both in pilot and from and also perform tests and register personnel through our local binary pattern, and also detect an incident, and then also patrol and like can be managed and controlled by web application. Now, these are the features for projects. Most of them actually just use brand verify and RFID sensor, but we are using for CNN our AI to move the robots using the autopilot. Now, this our project helps to control robots with perimeter surveillance. Then the integration of control is used by the Wi-Fi module or our node MC. The robot task, we have the pilot where the robot moves on its own, and we have also the navigation where we control via a web application. The project is designed primarily into categories of function. We've been running this some expert now in this field. I want to about the robots. The primary the way the robots function is going to be operated. The robot is going to be operated through a web application, and through a web application, we either select the Linux mode or the navigator mode. In the autopilot mode, the robot is to be trained in order to perform this function. And we use AI to train it. And the particular AI is CFA, convolutional. The robot is put in a particular perimeter that we want, because the main purpose of the robot is for surveillance. So we put the robot in the area we want it to survey, then we drive it around in that particular area, avoiding obstacles. We do that like 20, 40, 60 times in order to collect data. That's data collection. Then from data collected, the robot can learn to move in a similar environment that's filled with obstacles without the help of anyone, just operating itself on its own. While in navigator mode, the user controls the robot through the web application. This is the method done projects. We consists of the Raspberry Pi, the brain of the project. Then we have other sensors like ultrasonic sensor that is used to detect obstacles. Okay, the
The algorithm for the project is that mainly the robot car is powered on. There is a web application that is created for it. And in the web application, you have to select either the autopilot mode or the navigator mode. If you select the autopilot mode, the robot car operates itself based on the AI that has been implemented on the Raspberry Pi. While in navigator mode, the user control it. Another feature of this project is that it's capable of doing face recognition, because the primary purpose of this project is for military, just like my partner said, to monitor areas, especially delicate areas like the border. So in this project, we are going to register some set of people that are called personnel. Then we use another machine learning algorithm, face recognition algorithm to recognize faces. So we take picture of senior faces, then we store it in the database. Database, then when the robot is capable of differentiating the registered faces from unknown faces. So when the robot is operating and it comes in contact with a particular face, an unrecognized face, then capture the face, perform face recognition on the face, and if the face of the person is known, he continue with his normal working, moving, doing surveillance. But if the capture face is unknown, then he send the face to the notification, send an alert that unrecognized face has been captured. Currently, on this project, we are collecting data to train the convolutional neural network for the robot to move around obstacles. We have the code, we have the algorithm working for face recognition, and here you can see that we use it to recognize face. Yeah, a face was recognized here using that particular algorithm. Then we are moving next to convolutional neural network to move robots around obstacles. And we are going to tie everything together. And the robot is health-based. That is, it can be controlled anywhere in the world. The kind of project will be able to recognize face recognition, operate in pilot mode or navigator mode. Thank you.
So now we'll see questions for this.
Let me give it the first shot. So, did you consider security in all this? So, how do you build some kind of fail-safe system? May I go on? Yeah. So my question is, this is supposed to help with surveillance and so on, right? But how did you consider?
Sorry, please, can you come again?
I'm trying to type out the question.
Sorry, could you take the question one more time? We just switched the next door. It was born here, so it seems like that. But I think the question is.
If you guys can hear me, you know, there are many. Can you hear me?
Adedayo, I can hear you, but honestly, I don't know whether it looks as if there's a kind of.
Yeah, I can hear you too. I can hear you.
I can hear you, sir, but I've seen question on the screen.
Why are they not hearing us?
I've seen the question on the screen. What are the security capabilities factored in the projects? The security capability we factored in this project is that it's able to perform face recognition. In so doing, it can detect an intruder in around the border area.
Go on.
I think they are muted. They may have to unmute. You can't hear them anymore.
These projects can be employed in homes, in industry, in factories, for surveillance purposes. Thank you.
I'm not sure what the issue is, but it seems to be fine here. So sorry about that. We wanted to check the budget here, but for whatever reason we couldn't seem to get clearly. The questions that were coming about the difference divided by unit money, so we seem to have the budget here. So we could solve this thing, some from outside this room. If you just say something, let's say with questions of us. So that was.
Can you hear us clearly now? Hello, Wally. I'm speaking. Can you hear us?
I can hear on the other device, the monitoring, but not in the house.
Can you see the questions posted in the chat?
I'll check it right now. Okay, so. And then back to the question chance. The question is also, so we mentioned this for military surveillance, can this be considered for other forms of surveillance or we can see what are the limitations? But we can also we can consider the surveillance also in homes, in industries, in sports also. And then the limitations are the quality of the camera we use. Then also for transonic sensor, it only detects obstacles within 10 centimeters. So those are the limitations we have in this project. Thank you.
Just like my partner said, the major limitation we have in the project is the quality of hardware employed in this project. We use low quality hardware. And concerning the neural net, we cannot build our own. We use the pre-trained neural network, and the one we use is this CNN. Thank you.
Sit down below for questions. That will be all for our questions. Thank you, someone. I hope thanks to get up as someone. Next person. It's not a person done. The next person I'll be doing is DJ. Hi. So slightly, developing the transport application and centralized storage and highly performant emission management system. Just to start talking about transition,
climate change has been very disastrous. Very disastrous change has come last 2 years. One we take Nigeria to maybe we should Nigeria next year 2060. And that's actually very important because Nigeria itself we ought to conditional try conditions. So we're talking about climate change how this things now, there are some challenges we face. We know that the issue with climate change comes from greenhouse gas emissions.
So sorry about that. I think since the audio is not clear online, I think we can move to the better that others use. The last presenters use. Thank you. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Yes, it's louder. Come on this line.
Hi everyone. Just to start the second one thing, working on development of the transfer calibration and decentralized storage for an IoT and carbon insurance system. And starting up, so just a quick introduction. I need to mention on the fact that climate change has affected the world today in terms of forest fires and flooding. We've seen a lot of change affecting the world and farmers, especially in Africa. I published a report last year concerning summary and talking about the fact that even though Nigeria and Africa don't emit much, Africa stands to suffer a lot when the roadblock in terms of climate change and the repercussions are falling. So we know the major causes of climate change. We know that about 70+% comes from industry, and another large segment as well comes from transportation. But the large cause of it is the greenhouse gas emissions that come from the emissions of CO2 and CO from many of us, right? And as I mentioned, Glasgow joining online 2 years ago, and the president of Nigeria committed Nigeria to net zero by 2060. Of course, this is a bold move, and for this to happen, there are a lot of steps that we need to put in place. So the problem that we are facing currently in Nigeria and Africa is that we believe that carbon emissions are not really as much prominent here as in other parts of the world, in Europe and America. But as I said earlier in the IPCC report, specifically the section 2, Africa stands to major hit or loss in terms of the effect of climate change. So the ACMI, which is the African Carbon Credit Initiative, have come for the kind of innovation. Yes, in as much as Africans cannot, in as much as Africans cannot stand to contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, they can actually become a sink for carbon emissions, and that brings us to carbon credits. But again, there are other challenges that affect using carbon credits in Africa, and two major factors what I've written here. One, it is very expensive. And the University of Satellite in Glasgow as well spent about €1,000 just to create one IoT device to measure carbon emissions. And all right, and for IoT, they mentioned that it's expensive, and there are complaints that carbon emission data are not secure in terms of carbon credits. Yes, so just give you a very broad spectrum of the carbon credit market. And carbon credit market is actually a, yes, the one the carbon credit market is a 5.2 billion US dollar market. And then the ACMI, which focuses more on Africa, has estimated that they can push Africa, which is currently struggling, around 1 billion US dollars to be a $6 billion market by 2030. And of course, by 2050, they can further push the market to be about $120 billion revenue. So this brings me to my solution. I've been able to do two things specifically and to solve two problems. The first one is the fact that data is not secure, and the second one is that IoT is expensive. So I bring in a solution to use special techniques to do calibration for IoT devices and store the emissions on the blockchain for data security. So what I'm doing is quite simple. I measure through the IoT device carbon emissions in the atmosphere. I use machine learning techniques to calibrate the IoT device and read or send the values directly to the blockchain. So with this, we're able to get secure data which is stored in the blockchain and immutable. And also we're able to calibrate the device and get very accurate readings of carbon emissions. And just to talk about some of the reasons why blockchain is used, it opens up doors to contribute to carbon smart contracts as well as and once again, I would also like to show as well that cost of storing data on the blockchain, Filecoin, is funny, but it's true. It's about 3,000 times rather less expensive than storing data on the Google Drive. Yes, and just to show you some of my results on calibration and what we've been able to do so far. So for the IoT device, I take low-cost sensors.
Sorry for interrupting you. On the last slide, I didn't hear you clearly. What did you say about the cost of hosting data? I didn't hear that clearly.
Yeah, that was actually my question too. I did not hear him very clearly. It was as if it was just sort of you rushed through it.
All right, so can you confirm you can hear me? All right. So I was showing a comparison on the cost of storing data on the centralized provider and the like. Well, storing data on decentralized storages such as Filecoin and the like. And I mentioned that storing data on Filecoin is about 3,000 times rather cheaper than storing data on the iPhone. So just to quickly finish up, I was showing my steps in calibration. Now I'm moving from the key values are CO2 and COD. I've been able to gather data from that, simultaneously gathering data from the IoT device as well. Then I use machine learning to map the readings from the IoT device to the actual CO2 and CO reading using AI and ML. And from that, I send the AI and ML is hosted on AWS, and that's what you see in my technology. And with that, we now push directly to the blockchain. So for the calibration, I'm using 6 methods of sensing, and I'm tracking the humidity, the temperature. I'm tracking CO2 in 2 ways, using, as I said earlier, low-cost sensors, as well as carbon monoxide. So just to talk about the business model as well, yeah, there are tons of making profit from some of the things I've designed, and sales of IoT are some of the things I've highlighted, and access to, of course, data, because deploying IoT devices means that we are able to
give the actual readings of carbon emissions in several mapped species, right? So this data can as well be sold or be done in a kind of anyone wants to and analyze their reading directly from what was sent. As I said earlier, one of the big potential of this project is the introduction of carbon credits, right? And this project also fosters that in that we are storing data on the blockchain, which then can be used in carbon credit transactions. So I'm wrapping up already, and why is this project important? So 4 key stuff. Number one is the campaign. We are increasing awareness on the populace to embrace, clean energy solutions. And this project will as well create job revenue in terms of creating more IoT devices, deploying them, and as well as building infrastructure. And of course, you are also contributing to safer planet and making the health a safe place. And there's also much more collaboration and collaborative companies, investors, and several other governmental bodies that want to track and monitor emissions. So I'll wrap up and end with this note. This is the quote of Dr. Santos Porter, who co-chaired the IPCC Section 2 report. So he said that the scientific evidence is unequivocal. Climate change is a threat to human well-being and the health of the planet, and any further delay structured global action will miss the brief, rapidly closing window to secure a livable future. Thank you so much for speaking.
Yeah, can we ask questions now? So my question is, when you think about IoT, can you hear me? For the IoT devices, have you factored in connectivity? Because a lot of times we all tout IoT, but if, for example, you are using it, let's say, offshore and all the rest, how are you going to get, where are you getting signals from, or what's the connectivity like, the backhaul that will make sure that these devices connect? Or are there other means that you've considered to maybe sort of use it offline while or where you have connectivity?
Okay, so in terms of connectivity,
Hello. You may have to mute one of the devices. You are connected on 2 devices. You have to mute them.
Can you hear me clearly now? Awesome. In terms of connectivity, connecting to the servers through Zoom, and specifically the Wi-Fi and the local network that's using the local terrestrial network. Yes. Yes. All right. Yes. To answer the question once again, for IoT device, we are using connections, and we are using the Wi-Fi because we hope that there will be a standby reliable source of connectivity. Of course, if there are no reliable source of connectivity, we also have a fallback, which is a local network to just as a cellular means of communication.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment that you seem to have the profile of a perfect salesman. So keep up the good job.
I know that will excite you now. From your job description, right?
So just thank you.
Thank you so much once again.
Okay, so right now, I'll be calling on Mr. Awolowo. He's a public speaker and his experience in Google Cloud sales. He's also currently employed in Google Cloud and the head of customer engineering. So right now, let's put us together and welcome Mr. Awolowo.
Everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you now. Okay.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and yeah, it's an honor to speak to you all. So, like the person who just introduced me, I didn't actually catch your name. Sorry. My name is Bumi. I graduated from Ife with a certain Kesa Toyota was in my set. I think we graduated 2001. So a while ago now. And I have, since then, I have gone on to do a number of things. So I'm currently employed at Google, where I lead a team of sales engineers in our UK team. So I have a team of 20 plus engineers that I manage at the moment. I've been in technical sales now for coming up to 10 years. So I've done a number. So I started, my first few jobs were help desk and IT support. And then I moved into technical support, so working for an organization called CA Technology that no longer exists. And then after that, I went to Dell Technologies in the technical consulting role. And along the way, I found out that salespeople make a lot of money. So I heard the comment just now about somebody being the perfect salesman. Keep at it, you will do well. I then moved into technical sales. So initially as a technical sales engineer, so being the technical resource on a sales team. So taking all the knowledge and experience I had in technology and IT into the sales space. And about 3 years ago now, it looks like, I transitioned from being a sales engineer to running sales engineering teams. So effectively leading, coaching, building the sales engineers of the future. So that's me in a very small nutshell. So I don't know if anybody has, I don't know how the session is going to, do you have questions? I don't know how you want to continue the conversation. Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Thank you for that. And the audience might wonder why we interrupted the presentations to invite Bumi Showande. The idea is this: he finished from the department, elect, right? He's been out, 20 years plus. He's navigated the path that you guys are likely to want to navigate as well. I don't need to take a poll, but I'm almost certain that maybe 60-70% of the people in the audience right now are looking for how to find a job in a global multinational, right? Or to find your way out of Nigeria to Europe or other parts of the world. This is someone that has done it, right? So this is someone that has done it. And please use this opportunity. He has to log out in a few minutes to ask him whatever questions, right, that can help you along in your journey, right? When he's done, we have another person who finished from White House as well. He's with Meta, Facebook. So again, guys, your opportunity, ask them, very clear questions. Please don't ask for money, right? They will never give you, they will only give you advice. So ask for, tips, what can help you, to achieve the same kind of results that they have achieved, okay? But make it very snappy because we're running behind schedule now. Go ahead. Guys, 2 questions only for Bomi. Quick.
Okay, so I'm giving the mic.
Hello, yeah. So, good day, everyone. Yes, yeah. Good day, everyone. So, my name is Emmanuel Jigmo, and my question is, you mentioned that, and the speaker mentioned that he started as in the help desk of Google or the IT. And my question is I'm curious about your journey from being a graduate of elections to getting into Google as tech support for the IT part of stuff. And what exactly does a sales engineer do? I'm not very clear about that.
Sure. So what does a sales engineer do? That's a great question. So if you think about when you're selling technology, so something as complex as the cloud. So I saw the presentation just now. A lot of the times you are selling that, there are 2 audiences that are going to buy your product. So first things first, people buy products. 1, 2, you don't always sell a product because it's the best product. You sometimes sell it because you've actually connected with the people that are buying and you've connected with why they want to buy something. So what we do in the sales engineering team is, so we connect to the technical stakeholders at a company. So if you think about, say, a bank, First Bank, the CTO or CIO wants to implement a particular technology in his IT team. But that technology will affect business processes in the bank. So there are people who are maybe the COO or somebody else on the business side who's not very technical, who needs to understand how the technology will help make his team more effective. And at the same time, you will have engineers at the bank who will want to understand how easy it is for me to implement this tech. What will I need to do? What do I need to learn? So as a sales engineer, effectively, you straddle all these audiences. Your job is to go to the non-technical audiences and explain to them the benefits of what you're selling and how it will help them. The best engineers don't talk about the product, you talk about the customer. So the best sales engineers, I beg your pardon. So you talk about how your product will help your customer achieve their goals. That's why they will buy from you. And then you go to the technical people at the customer and you do the same thing. How does it help them achieve their goals? How does it make their life better? How does it fit in with their existing technology stack? What skills do they lack that they will need? Who can help them to implement it? And answer any really technical questions that they will have, and they will have plenty. So as a sales engineer, your job is exactly that. So you go in, one of the reasons why I really enjoy the job is when I was in tech support and consulting, it was quite defined what you were going to do. So you have a product that doesn't work. As an engineer, you kind of figure out why it doesn't work and you fix it. In consulting, you have a product you need to go in and deploy. It's fairly straightforward. It's effectively reading from a manual and doing what's in the manual. Sales, you don't know what to expect from meeting to meeting. And that's what excites me about it. So you go into a meeting thinking that, okay, this customer has this tech stack, so this is the question they're going to ask. The very first question completely throws you off guard and you have to go into a different direction than you had planned. It's being prepared for that. And I get a lot of energy from that actually. So being prepared for this conversation has like 100 different ways it can go. I need to be prepared for all of them. That is what a good sales engineer does. So you basically go in and you help people. So effectively, so I'm talking about cloud now. Most large enterprises will be considering one of 3 clouds: Amazon, Google, Microsoft. The truth is, all 3 companies will have sales teams pitching to the customer, talking about how good their products are, whatever. The customer has to make a decision. And effectively, I don't get paid if they don't choose Google often enough. And that's the job. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, speak. So, you mentioned that you have. Okay. So you mentioned that you are overseeing a team of 20 sales engineers. I would like to ask, what does it take to be a sales engineer? And if you're having a sales engineer, what are the typical qualities you look for that will make you want to hire somebody?
What does it take to be a sales engineer? I think I touched on a lot of that in my previous answer. To be a good sales engineer, you need to be curious. So you need to be somebody who asks questions and listens. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You need to listen and talk in that ratio. You need to listen to your customer and then come up with solutions that help them rather than things that help you. So it's that curiosity. The other thing about sales engineering is technology moves very, very quickly. I've been at Google now for 6 years, and the technology we're selling today is very different to the technology we're selling when I joined. You have to be, and one of the things I say about university teaches you how to learn. So people always say, oh, I learned this, I did EEE 201, 301, I'm never going to use it. Probably true, but it taught you how to learn. And you need to be a continual learner throughout your career. So for a sales engineer, somebody who can see a new piece of technology and very quickly learn how to use it, what the benefits are, what the drawbacks are. So it's learning how to, somebody who loves learning, that's also really key because this technology moves really, really quickly. 10 years ago, nobody knew what the cloud was, right? It was a completely different concept. Now, that's all everybody wants to talk about. In 10 years' time, it will be a completely different. I mean, even if I can think about this year, when we did our planning in January, AI wasn't even on the radar. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came up. And then we had to very quickly pivot our strategy to incorporate generative AI into what we were selling. How do we go in 6 months? In fact, less than 6 months. And that is one of the big qualities, somebody who knows how to learn. And then finally, you need to be good with people. So I've talked about, I mentioned it a lot. While it's a technical job, you need to be able to relate to people. You need to be able to walk into a room, have a conversation, and get the attention of the decision makers at any organization. So it's all about, can you do a presentation to a group of 30, 40 people to talk about something? So those are the kind of things we're looking at when we're hiring our sales engineers. There's people who are personable, who know how to have a conversation. And I think the key thing is you need to be able to have a technical conversation with a non-technical person and have it make sense.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. Come to us together again for this time. Just some of us will learn to work with Google sometime in the future when we graduate. We are your connections. So moving on to the next person for the presentation, I'd like to call on Alabise Success.
Right. Hi everyone. My name is Alabis in Success, Taufik, and my project title is Design and Construction of a Smart Waste Management System. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let me go directly to the introduction. 80% of truck speakers occurs in the wrong time. Delays, garbage collection leads to overflowing waste bins, and illegal disposal and great cleaning and collection of cost. And these are major problems that we want to solve with this project. You can see the trash there. This is an illegal disposal, and this is one of the problems that we want to solve. So the problem statement here is due to lack of timely clearing of waste bins, information about the bin level and calculation of local bins and stakeholders of waste management system and public are often faced with the problem of offensive odors. So offensive odors is one of our problem, and littering around unclean waste bins. Okay, all right. And littering around unclean waste bin. So we decide to come with this project in order to solve such problems. So here, the objectives of this project is to design and construct a waste bin management and design and construct a telemetry system that will help us give out the information inside the waste bin everywhere, anywhere we are. So this is some of the project that is in existence, and our own is in view, which is, you can see it on the screen. 2023 is our project, Smart Waste Management System. And to compare a little about this difference is our own is cloud-based system, and when it comes to the connection type. So others that we've seen so far is Wi-Fi based. The difference between the two is that the others are making use of Wi-Fi based, where it is limited to get information. That is, you have to get connected to a particular device because you can have access to the information of the bin. But ours can be accessed. You can have information of the bin anywhere you are in the country. So we make use of this kind of Teams board called Teams board dashboard, which allows us to visualize every information on the dashboard. So our system makes use of solar. It's a solar-based system, IoT-based system. It makes use of solar. So we have the solar panel, the solar charge controller, the battery, and we are able to locate the bin anywhere we are in the country. All right. So the model, we make use of a very important microcontroller, which is called TTGO T-Core SIM 800 embedded kind of microcontroller. That help us to get information and be able to transmit this information over a wider range. So in this, we have other sensors like the gas sensor, the bin level, and other sensors that are able to help us to realize the system. So see, this is my block diagram. So in this block diagram, we have the microcontroller, which is the heart of the design, and we have other sensors. The DAC sensor there is to give us the temperature reading of the bin and the humidity level of the bin. The MQ4 sensor help us to note the smell of the bin, and ultrasonic sensor there is to measure the level of the bin. And we have the dashboard. Then we have the electromechanical unit, which is the edge bridge system. The edge bridge system allows us to open and close the lid automatically. So the edge bridge system makes use of two switches, or let's say two switches. We have two electromechanical switch and electronic switch that help us to open the lid backward and forward. So this the circuit diagram that was used to realize the system, having the TT go and other sensors in it. So this is how the system works. When I'll use this flow chart to explain how this device works. When the user comes in there, the bin opens automatically by itself. Then the user dumps his bin, and when the bin is full, it collects all the information, the temperature, the humidity, and the smell and other informations, and transmit it over a one rate, which can be accessed anywhere we are. So this is the solar panel. We've discovered that this system needs enough power to be able to work properly. So we decided to come up with a solar panel with a solar charge controller, including the BMS. The function of the BMS is battery management system. The function of it is it allows the life, it affords a better lifespan of the battery. Okay, so we have the solar charge controller, which actually helps to boost the current that is coming out of the solar panel to charge the battery. And we decided to go for MPPT charge controller because the MPPT charge controller has the ability to take in high voltage and convert it to excess current, just like the way MOSFET operates. So this is the waste bin. This is how our design is like, exactly like. So we're able to implement the power unit, the solar charge controller, and design the circuit and publish some data, which I'll like to show in the next. Oh, this number. This is not the right slide. Yes. Oh, okay. No problem. Yes, and I give it.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Sorry about what.
Okay. Okay, so we have already published our data. So where we have our the humidity, we inform of percentage. We have our temperature. We have even the battery. Okay, the battery value, the battery readings, how the battery is behaving whenever the bin is installed. So I would have loved to show the result of, but it's not in this particular side. All right, so that's what's, yeah.
Are you with the presentation? Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Success. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay, thank you. I'm trying to understand the problem statement. I heard you talk about you're able to measure the humidity, the smell. Then at some point you said that the measurement is done at the point when the bin is full. Do you want to quickly clarify that?
Okay, dynamically, the measurement is done all the time, but to publish, just because of the cost, my publish, we make sure that the system publish information from the bin only if the bin is full, only if it's full. Let me.
So what kind of, so two questions from there. One is, why do we have to wait until it's full? And then secondly is what information is being, what exactly are we measuring? What report are we getting at the end of the day?
okay, we are measuring the bin level of the waste, I mean, the level of the waste bin, how full it is in form of percentage. All right, for instance, 100% or 50%. So we get the notification from the base station when it is 100%. So from there, we get other information like the temperature of the bin. For instance, if biodegradable substance are just inside the bin, we have some gas that emit out of it. So we can have methane as a gas emitting when material or biodegradable things are getting decayed. So from there, the sensor, which is the MQ4, measures it and give us the feedback about that. Then we also have the battery monitoring system. The battery monitoring system to make sure that we will know whether the device is working very well or not wherever we are. So it gives us the behavior of the solar panel, how the solar panel is charging the battery and the battery level as well.
All right, thank you.
I have one question. So how would is this for use for like waste disposal companies?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if it's for use for waste disposal companies, my thinking is that you want to optimize the routing of the trucks or the vehicles that will collect it. So if you are measuring just at the point of collection, how would they be able to forecast so that they can optimize their routing of their vehicles?
And that's why we have a device called GPS. The GPS is there. I mean, yes, GPS. The GPS tells us the location of the bin. So I said
no, sorry. Sorry, just hold on. Let me try and rephrase my question clearly. My thought is, if you are measuring at when it's 100%, right? How would they just immediately now send a vehicle to go and pick the bins, or you want to factor in them making a forecast and optimizing the route? Because it won't be only one bin. I'm assuming that you will have different bins in different places. How do they do their route planning? I'm not saying how the vehicles will find the location, but how do they do their route planning based on when the bins are full or when the bins are projected to be full?
So the bins, for instance, now it's not reaching 100% before it's notified them. When you get to like 80%, whereby they might be able to even use it within some time before they count of it. However, we have a database. So the kind of database we are coming up with is a Google Sheet, form. So anytime a waste bin is full, there's a Google Sheet that will portray all the information. Like let's say waste bin 1, waste bin 2 in social area. So it will display the information about the bin, the name of the bin, then the information that are gotten from the bin. All of these things will be portrayed on the Google Sheet.
Can I just one clarification? What's the notification system? How do they get notified? On what device, etc.?
It's a database system. We are making use of a database system whereby microcontroller, which is embedded with C in part, is working by data. So we have a dashboard that help us complete this information. For instance, we have teams board dashboard that help us complete this information directly to the cloud.
All right, thank you.
None for me. Thank you.
So right now, I'm calling on our second speaker for today, in the person of Mr. Olakule. He's an electrical electronics engineer, who specifies in digital systems, hardware, firmware, and the likes. Is currently the design verification engineer at Meta. Let's put things together for this time.
Hi everyone. Can you all hear me?
Okay, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice to meet everyone here and be part of this. This is amazing. The projects that I've seen so far have been really amazing. Yeah, so I'll just talk a little bit about my career journey. So I also studied at Obafemi Awolowo University, and I studied engineering physics. So I was in the White House. But after that, after I graduated, I went on to do another bachelor's as well in electrical and electronics engineering from the University of East London. And I got an advanced entry into that program. So it was normally a 3-year course, but I did a 2-year course. So yeah, that's why, now I am I'm an engineer specializing in, digital systems and all that, because I went for that training and education and that. Although I did gain a lot from also my studies at OAU. I took some courses from elect department, some electives. So it was all good. Yeah, so I guess one thing I can just talk about as well is how to. So today I'm working at Meta. Maybe I'll talk a little bit for about a minute on the kinds of things that I do. Meta is, we are not only a software company. I know that some of the products that people most associate with Meta are things like Facebook and WhatsApp, Instagram, and those are all good and great, but we also are building hardware products now. So you might have heard of Ray-Ban Stories, which is smart glasses, the Quest VR headsets, and we are also moving into making augmented reality glasses, AR glasses. So the team that I work in, we are building IP, intellectual property, essentially hardware that's going to be used in this augmented reality glasses. So we have to build custom things because AR requires low power and because you have very little space on the glasses to put things like a battery and all that. So you have to really design custom things that meet that. So that's why we have to do that, and it's very interesting. So it means that you use hardware description languages like Verilog, system Verilog, and all that, and you actually do research and implement things. And I can also talk a little bit about how my journey into that came about. So I think one thing I can mention is that it's good to have good qualifications. So like I said, yeah, I did have my bachelor's in electrical and electronic engineering, and I'm sure most of people here too are enrolled in those programs. So that's already a good thing that you have. So the other thing that is also good is to gain experience. So in my case, yeah, after my bachelor's, I did a master's in Canada, University of Windsor. And immediately after that, I started working in industry. But the first job, yeah, it's a bit, it usually requires you to be able to really demonstrate either something from what you did in your projects or yeah, most likely. So yeah, my projects in my master's was also on some FPGA implementation of things. So I guess that helped to get me into the industry. But yeah, once you get into the, like maybe the first job, it's also good to, I guess, to build up on that and then just build your skills in the areas that you're passionate about. So, and for me, my journey was something like that. I was working at first at Advanced Micro Devices, and working in a team that, at AMD, we build chips for that are used in laptops and computers and all that. So I was able to develop some skills in looking at how things are done and working in that. And then once you keep building on those experiences, then I think, you can find yourself in all kinds of interesting places doing great work. Another thing I could mention is to be good with algorithms. So because nowadays it's like if you go for most interviews or for these kinds of roles, technical interviews, you most likely encounter some questions on algorithms and all that. So it's good to practice on that and to be really good in that, to be prepared. So I guess that's a brief summary from my journey, but I'll be glad to answer any questions that you guys might have on anything related to that could be helpful.
Good evening, sir. Yeah, so I gave the first presentation of developing an instrument for device. Yeah, that also reflects another concept. So you mentioned that you're a design engineer and you work with very low FPGAs and the like. So in the past and still currently, I work with microcontrollers quite very good. I even go to the level of using assembly to program microcontrollers, and what more complex architectures. And speaking of FPGAs, I use very well. I use VHDL. I went as far as I'm trying to develop my own algorithm. That is my own ICT that I from one of our courses, computation, because I went as far as developing my own instruction set.
Sorry to interrupt a bit. I am hearing what you're saying, but it's not as audible as before. So I was wondering if there's something that can be done about that, or you might have to speak a little bit more slowly, because
So the summary of everything I've said is that I used to be, I'm still very good with microcontrollers, microprocessors, FPGAs, and processors. But one thing I found is in environments I am. There is the platform to learn and all of these hardware, learning core hardware, knowing how to interpret the instruction set of microprocessors, developing motion instructions. Yes, but also there is no platform for immediate classification within this environment. It's much more easier to get a software job, within software job where you don't have to focus on or data analytics and data science job. And it's actually killing hardware with analytics currently. So for someone like me now I've gotten to a very, I would say by my own understanding, very good extent with core hardware. But at the same time, there's also no form of release classification for all what that. So how do I navigate that? How do I get myself into the core industry? It's very easy for me to get a software internship for being a Nigerian student. But it's actually quite difficult for me to get a role as maybe an FPGA design engineer, or maybe an analog electronics engineer, or maybe an embedded software engineer, or maybe a core firmware engineer. It's very, very difficult as just a normal student to get such internship roles, which is also remote. So how does one navigate that?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the question. To summarize it a little bit, just to make sure that I got what you're saying, I think you mentioned that you are not able to get certifications in hardware areas. Is that correct?
So I don't mean I'm not talking about getting certification. I'm talking about getting internship roles that are
Oh,
immediately
internship. Oh, okay.
You're remotely, even remotely with foreign companies. It's much more difficult compared to getting the software role.
Okay, got it. All right. So yeah. That is actually true. I would admit. I think currently in Nigeria, the industry where you would be building hardware products, digital systems, and all that is not as yeah. In comparison to software, it's very much reduced, or maybe not even existing that much. So the software internship opportunities are more prominent, but who knows, in the future, as foreign investors come in and all that, maybe that could change. Another idea is starting up businesses. If hopefully you are able to come up with some ideas and be able to present it, and you're getting funding for it and all that. But if you really, but outside Nigeria, yeah, like for my case in Canada, when I was doing my master's, that was something that was very much available, I would say. And in the US as well, where I am currently, that is available. Sometimes there are some work permit considerations that you have to think about, but I would say that if you were, for example, if you were interested in furthering your education, to, for example, to do a master's and all that, then, and you were able to do that outside the countries, in that process, I strongly think that you would get these opportunities to do internships and build your experience in that area. So, yeah, does that answer the question? I hope that.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Any other question? No.
That would be all for now, sir. Thank you so much for your time. It was so nice to meet you. It's very.
All right, thanks.
So moving on now, we're calling our last presenter, the person of Olabimi Ayo.
So this is the general overview of our slide. So generally for introduction, we don't consider session.
There is a bit of background noise, and then the voice of the presenter is not loud. So there's something out of place.
Okay.
All right, so please, can you hear me?
Yes, your voice is a lot louder. However, it seems
right.
like there's some feedback. Maybe you need to turn off the microphone or something.
Is it better now, sir?
Yes, it is.
All right, is it better now, sir?
Please proceed. We can
Okay.
hear you clearly.
So the weather station is an affordable meteorological instrument that is designed to measure atmospheric conditions. So, to the main introduction, Africa's geological information is very expansive and diverse when it comes to weather patterns, but we experience a limitation in the covering of this data due to the low deployment of weather stations across the whole continent. So this has caused consequences in our economic related fields that are such as agriculture, water resources, and aviation. Then the maintenance of these weather stations have been hindered by some of the environmental conditions, such as the lack of proper road transportation and communication in the continent. So the use of rugged, low-cost weather stations are more applicable to Africa's environment. Then weather stations in local areas, they require renewable energy systems for sustainable power supply. And that's the whole aim of this project. So the problem statements are, we have the traditional power supplies for weather stations, such as batteries, have limited capacity and also very expensive. The dependence on conventional electrical grid reduces the autonomy of the weather stations. The current solutions are expensive and lack the reliability to sustain weather stations for long deployments, and existing power supply solutions are not designed to operate in optimal, challenging environments or harsh weathers like our environment here in Africa. So the aim of the project is to design an optimal solar harvesting power supply units for deployment in low-cost weather stations. Why are we interested in this aim? Because weather stations consist of 4 different subsystems. We have the sensor subsystem, the control subsystem, the node, and also the power subsystem. And then from literature review, it has been noticed that the power subsystem is the most important subsystem of the weather stations. So I reviewed 5 different papers, and then I concluded that from the papers reviewed that working on the power management system can improve the overall efficiency of your weather stations, and also using optimization techniques such as hybrid energy subsystems can also improve the efficiency of your weather stations. Because of time, I won't be able to go through all the papers in details, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to come back to this. So from our conclusions, our solution was to look at 3 different energy storage devices: ultra capacitors, lead acid batteries, and lithium ion batteries, with different nominal voltages, specific power, and specific energy and life cycles that can be used for storage in weather stations. So these technologies have different pros and cons. The ultra capacitors, they can handle fast charging and discharging, and they have longer lifespan, while lead acid are more cost effective and are very, very reliable in harsh weather conditions. Lithium ion are more cost effective in battery technologies, and they also have high density. That means they can hold charges for way, way longer than other battery chemistries. So the system specifications of the node and weather ones that were deployed, the nodes had 5 volt DC and 52 milliampere current rating, while the gateways are 3.3 volt DC and 160 milliamperes current rating. These specifications were gotten from tests that were carried out on both the node and the gateway. So our solution is to provide constant voltage and constant current supply, harvest energy from the ambient energy in the environment, and autonomously charge and discharge the backup for the node and gateway. Our implementation architecture uses four basic optimization techniques. That is energy harvesting using solar energy, then stores the energy during the peak hours in 3 different chemistries. You have the ultra caps, the lead acid, and the lithium ion. Then it uses storage management and backup management to both protect and control the charging and discharging of the storage devices. For the ultra cap storage, during the peak hours in the day, the energy is harvested from solar panels and is used to power the load and charge the ultra capacitor. The ultra capacitor charges, it has a balancer that protects the ultra capacitor. So when it is fully charged, it disconnects from the solar panel. And during the ambient hours where the solar is not available, we power the nodes using the ultra capacitors. The same thing goes for the lithium ion. It's just that lithium ion uses a battery management system instead of the balancing circuit used in the ultra capacitors. And we also have the same configuration also in the lead acid battery. So the three different power supply systems use the same configuration for their architecture. Then the whole goal of the project is to have an hybrid storage, which uses the 2 best power systems, power energy storages, and then combines them into one to be able to supply the load without any issue. We carried out some tests on the power supply units, and then we got some results. We saw that the supercapacitors charge very, very fast, and they can also discharge high current and voltage values to the load when necessary. Then we noticed that the supercapacitors charged for 2 hours, and then they were able to supply the 3.3 volts, 160 milliamperes to the node for about 12 hours before it was fully depleted. The lithium ion worked for about 20 hours, and the lead acid worked for about 20 hours, and the lithium ion worked for about 8 hours before it was fully depleted. So the conclusion is that the project is aimed for critical change in unreliable power supply in weather stations. So the further work to be done is to deploy these power supplies on 7 different locations in our local community on Obafemi Awolowo University, and then also work on some other improvements like optimizing energy techniques for weather stations. Then the information gotten from the weather stations can be used further in forecasting and other necessary that is generally to provide data for other weather applications. So thank you very much.
Ms. Oladoyin, thank you for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
I found it quite interesting, and I'm a little bit interested in renewable energy. So my questions, just as Dr. Offiong mentioned at the beginning, we're not asking you any trick questions, right? We're just, we're rubbing minds, so we're colleagues, all of us. So, but my questions will just basically try to point your finger or point your attention to something that maybe you should have considered, okay, in selecting this. So, number one point is I read I watched a documentary a while back and learned from that documentary that the amount of energy that is radiated from the sun towards the earth in 1 hour is enough to cater for all the energy needs we have globally for 1 year. So 1 hour of sunlight can actually power everything, that we have, for 1 year. So obviously, this is a huge area of opportunity that needs to be explored, and I'm happy to see that you're looking into this. But the question I have for you is, how many weather stations are in Nigeria?
How many weather stations are in Nigeria? I can't specifically say the number of Nigeria, but I know in the whole continent, we don't really have weather stations deployed.
Precisely. So let me interrupt you then. So my question is, why then did you link your research, which is a brilliant one, to weather stations? Right?
Why did I?
For me, yeah, because if you come up with a way, to optimize how we store the energy and so on, right, from a renewable source, which is a very good initiative, why not link it to something that is more a pinpoint that we really have, right? I give you a simple example. Can this be used to power television sets, as an example, right? So why don't you find a way to integrate it to television sets such that people, even though there's a power outage, can still have a rallying point at home, right? They don't need to run the generator, the TV is on. Why don't you even extend that capability a little bit to say, can we actually create USB ports on it or on the TV such that people can charge their mobile devices? So they're watching TV and charging their phone, right? And everything is coming from the charge that you got from the solar system and you start. That is a more concrete, because at the end of the day, we're saying, let's not end the initiative as a research. So you do something, it's really nice, but there are no off-takers. It doesn't solve an immediate problem for anyone around you, and therefore nobody wants to put money into it. But if you had a little bit, moved it in a slightly different direction, you could actually productify this and find a huge market for it already, because we have power shortage, as you know. So again, I'm not criticizing, the quality of the academic rigor and so on. I'm just thinking from a sales perspective. If I want to convert this into, by the way, I'm a salesman, right? So I always see things primarily from, how do we monetize and how do we scale it? So if you're going to create something like this, look for a real problem, a real life problem around you where this research can solve, rather than doing something that seems a little bit distant, right? Because I don't think monitoring weather and so on is priority for us in Africa right now, as of today, right? I hope you get the point. Again, I'm not trying to shoot down what you've done. I'm just saying, thinking from innovation, how do I take this research and turn it into something that can be sold to solve a real problem and generate revenue? I would rather not focus on weather systems. I'll focus on something else.
I would like to answer that. Thank you very much. So technically, what you said is actually being done, and it's no more new. We have TVs that DC power here in Africa that we can use. We use one currently in the department itself that we use 12 volts to power the TV. So whether there is power or there's no power, we can directly power the sun. So it's no longer new. But this project focuses on weather stations, which collects data for forecasting. And we use weather data in things like APIs, where you do weather forecasting. And weather forecasting is very important here in Africa because we use weather in a lot of our economic fields, in agriculture, in the military, in disaster preparedness. We use weather in those departments. But the issue we have here is that local data in Africa is not available. So we are trying to collect local data, and then we want to deploy weather stations that are available 24/7 to collect this information so that we can be able to forecast what our local data is. That's why we are looking at renewable in the field of weather forecasting. I hope I answered the question, sir.
Yes, you did. You did, but the audio quality changed a bit. I don't know whether if something else, you changed something or so on. But anyway, thank you for responding to the question. Let's use the floor to any other person that has a question for you.
So my comment is similar to Daya's. I'm wearing a commercial hat here. So I had a conversation with someone this morning. As we are all aware, we woke up and then fuel is now, petrol is 488 to 500 naira per liter. And everyone is crying about that. And I was having a conversation with someone this morning. And I say, hey, isn't this a big opportunity for us here? What can we do with this? People want to cut costs. I know a couple of people that say, hey, some people are dropping their bigger cars for small cars that consume less fuels. I know somebody that has not fixed his car in a while. I said, now I have to take my car to the mechanic so that I make sure that I'm consuming less fuel. People are coming up with a lot of, ideas. Are there ways that this can solve the problem? Because when you are developing solutions like this is very good when you are solving problem for so many people. And that is very critical. Sometimes it's not how beautiful, how cool, if I can use that word, your invention is, but how many people will be interested in buying it? What is the magnitude of the problem? How many people in total, they call it total addressable market, are we solving this particular problem for? So that's very important. So if there is a way this can be adapted in a way to solve, problems that a lot more people are facing, it will go a long way. Well done. Well done.
Thank you guys again for not doing it. Let's clap for our people. So right now we're going to be moving on to our judges will be deliberating now. Who are our winners are. So our winner will be going on with 250,000 naira. Then the first winner will be going on with 150,000 naira. Then the second runner we have 75,000 naira. So if you for right now, if you're not following Fabian Consulting on Instagram, please, I wanted to bring out your phone now and follow Fabian Consulting on Instagram. Please, if you have not done that, I want us all to do that now. While our judges are deliberating and calculating the scores. Please follow Fabian Consulting on Instagram.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
So, how many of you are in part 3 and part 4? May I see by a show of hands? Fantastic, right? So, the question that you may then have is, okay, these guys in part 5 are going to collect $250,000 naira and run away. So, how about us? What's the plan? Right? So while the judges are deliberating, let me share some good news with you. So this, as we said, is season 1. So we're going to have season 2 starting when the next session commences. I hope there are no delays this time around. And season 2 will be bigger and better. So the first thing is that we will extend it to the entire faculty. So it's not going to be just elect. It's going to be the whole faculty of technology, and maybe even sciences as well. But we'll see, right? So the minimum faculty of technology. Number 2 is that we will also increase the prize money. So this time it's 250K. Next season, it's potentially going to be $500,000 for the star prize, and then everything is subsequent to be upgraded. But then, more importantly, you know, we, as I tried to mention during the introduction, what we're going to do differently in season 2 is that we'll start the journey with you guys from the beginning of the session. So at the beginning of the session, we'll have alumnus coming online. You'll see on our portal, Mr. A, will say, I'm interested, as an example, in generative AI. Mr. B will say, I'm interested in renewable energy. Mr. C will say, I'm interested in XYZ. They'll specify the research areas they are interested in based on the gaps they're seeing in the industry. And a condition for them to post their areas of interest or the topics they want people to research on our platform will be that they're willing to sponsor it. So that alumnus will potentially, well, depending on inflation and so on, commit to an amount. It could be 150,000, 200,000, whatever is required, so that it's not lack of money that will force you guys to take simpler research areas, right? That would hopefully be no longer the case. It will be, if you have the ambition, you're ready to put the effort that is required into the academic work, well, fine, you'll get the funding for the project. So we'll pay you and the alumnus at the beginning of the session. The alumnus does not in any way replace your academic supervisor. What we are doing is to complement what the school is doing. It's not to replace. We cannot. So you will have your faculty appointed supervisor who will guide you with all the academic rigor required in the process. But in parallel, you have this mentor from the industry who, as I mentioned, will fund the project. And number 2, will continue to guide you, give you feedback, how the industry will perceive what you're working on. And by the end of the session, when we have this kind of finale, it will be yourself, your mentor, and the supervisor working together to prepare your pitch, right? So I think it's going to be much more fun. Whether you win or you don't lose, the fact that you now have an industry mentor, and we're talking about people that have 20 years of experience under their belt, right? So they have contacts everywhere, they have influence in the industry. Those are the kind of people you want to actually have as your mentors, right, in this area. So you're already going to have that mentorship throughout for 1 year, and they can guide you along the way, whether you win or you don't win. But then for those that win, this time around, we're only rewarding the researcher. But next year, we'll reward both the researcher as well as their supervisor, because we don't believe that the reward of teachers should be in heaven only. So you win, and your supervisor as well will be given something, to thank them for the good work that they've done. So that's why I'm saying season 2 is going to be bigger and it's going to be better, right, in all ramifications. What we expect from yourselves then is that you would have, more interesting topics. The topics we're seeing today, the research areas we've seen today, some of them are actually quite interesting, I must say, right? But then next session, we expect even more, right? Things that would challenge us, things that will inspire us, things that can be productified. I just lost the video feed, so I can't tell if you guys are still there or not. Can you still hear me? Because the feed stopped for a moment. Yeah. So anyway, that's the ambition, right? That's season 2. And if you say, oh wow, season 2 is going to be interesting, guess what? We already have a roadmap for season 3, and season 3 is even going to be bigger. So that's even more good news for some of you that are in part 3. That by the time it gets to your turn, maybe you'll be competing for a millionaire. So you're graduating as a millionaire. Not a bad way to end your session, right? Is it? So that's it. Yeah. So that's that. Do you guys have any questions for me regarding what this is about, what next year is going to look like, and or generally about career? Go ahead and shoot.
Those are projects that are and I'm going to full-time I'm done. So I didn't plan to make the project that we
The feed broke for a couple of seconds, so I didn't hear the question. Can you please repeat the question?
All right. What I said was that for next year or even this year, are there plans to fund the projects that we to make them full-time products to help them get this funding and things like that?
Are there plans to fund the projects that win to become what? I didn't hear the latter part of your question.
Full-time products. Full-time.
Oh, great. Very good. What's your name, please?
I'm David.
David, excellent question. So we had, just so you know, Mrs. Rosalind Ilori, I don't know if that was said when she was introduced. She's the CEO of Bridge 57, right? Before that, she was CEO of MTech. I don't know if you guys remember MTech, but MTech was the #1 value-added service provider in Nigeria, and they had operations across East Africa, Central Africa, and so on. She's into startups. So this is exactly the kind of initiative that we're trying to make. That we're bringing business owners that can take these projects that you guys are working on and help you turn them into commercial projects that will be sold, and then you make money off it, right? So yes, the answer to your question is yes. But is it default? No, because investors are smart. They will not put their money behind a product that doesn't have a significant addressable market. So you might remember that when she was responding earlier on to the last presenter, she said, what is the total addressable market, right? Because as a smart investor, you're going to only fund, a concept that you believe has a market size that makes sense for you, right? Because they're looking for return on investment. We have Mr. Fulu Ijagulu as well. He has a startup, right? And they're launching an online platform for handling procurement. That's why I brought these guys in contact with you. That if you have a viable idea, if you have something that you've developed that makes sense to them, of course, they're going to look into the possibility of partnering you to help you take it to the market. So the answer to your question, Mr. David, is yes, that is the overall ambition.
Is there any other question? No. I think that will be all the questions.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I would just like you to just briefly tell us about your journey so far, from who you and how you got to this point where you was.
You'd like me to tell you about my journey from OAU and what?
And how the process and the journey so far, and how you got to where you are currently.
Okay, thank you for the question. So can you all still hear me? Because the feed seems to be gone, the video feed seems to be gone. You can hear me? Okay, yeah, the feed keeps going on and off, so, and I just paused to be sure that you could hear me. Yes, so I graduated from elect department in 2003, I believe. So this makes it basically 20 years since I left White House. And unlike most of the people you have as the assessors, I didn't make a first class. I didn't make even a 2-1. I ended up with a 2-2. So yeah. So and but right from university, I had been very entrepreneurial. So, and that's probably explains partially, at least gives me an excuse for saying why I didn't make it 2-1, right? Because I had so many things going on. I had a website development company. Back then, I don't know if you guys still do it, but back then there was no Facebook. So when you were graduating, you'd have what you called year CD, and then you create pictures of everyone in the department, their name, their bio, and so on. I had a company doing that, and we got a lot of jobs on campus for the final year students. So company one was creating the year CDs. Company two, we got a job with the University of Lagos, so we're making the website. I was part of the team that actually created the first OEE website. So that was my second business. Third business, I had a printing service. So I was printing final year projects and so on. So I was also founder of an organization. I was pastor of a fellowship. So I had my hands full. And one of the things that when I look back and I looked at all the things I was doing when I was in my final year, they've really helped me along my journey. And that's why I'm telling you this. So we had this organization that I founded. I'm just giving you one example. And we decided to have an end of year party for children in a motherless babies home. We went all the way to Oshogo to do that. But then how did we raise money to fund that party? We created Christmas cards with iconic buildings in the OAU and so on. And then we had the responsibility of selling those Christmas cards, right? And I took on our hall. So by myself, I entered every room in our hall. And those of us that lived in our, you know what they call arrow, that you go into a room and they can embarrass the heck out of you, right? So I would enter in a room, and within 20, 30 seconds, I had to find a way to connect with them so that they wouldn't embarrass me and they would listen to what I'm saying. So I sold cards, I was able to get the money, went for the Christmas party. It was very successful. The kids were very happy and so on. Why did I tell you that story? I say that because then I learned presentation skills. Then I learned how to connect, with people in potentially hostile environments. Fast forward 1 year later, middle of NYSC, I saw an advert with Huawei was just entering Nigeria then. I think you guys know Huawei now. Then nobody knew what was called Huawei, but they were just setting up Nigeria. They called me for interview. And, I had to make presentation to these guys. And when I finished, they were so wowed, the guy couldn't help but to hire me. He asked me, the interview questions he asked me a lot of questions about telecoms. Telecoms was quite new in Nigeria, and then I had zero response because I didn't know anything about telecoms. And the Chinese guy had to say at some point, Dayo, you know nothing about telecoms. He had to say, he couldn't even hide his opinion. But then when it came to IT skills, when it came to presentation, I aced everything, right? Why? Because I'd learned, every time I entered the room and those guys were going to embarrass me, I had to find a way to turn them and become get to my side. So what I'm saying is the skills that have helped me along the way are skills that I started building while I was there on campus, doing various things, campus fellowship, pastor, doing business here and there. We had another business, I've got to mention that one, we're writing CVs for people. So I call that one Onyx Consulting, writing CVs for people that are about to graduate. So when it comes to helping people build their profiles and stuff, I built the skill as well, right? So I got the job with Huawei. I worked with Huawei for 2 years. Then I moved to another company it's now called Amdocs. Back then it was Converse. So I worked with Converse. In Huawei, I was application and software product manager, right, in Huawei, right? And that's exactly what Bumi was saying earlier. That was basically technical sales. So in Huawei, I would meet with the CTO of Glo, CTO, not CTO of MTN. Glo was still a bit smaller then, so I could meet with the CTO. MTN, there were so many management layers in between, but had so many meetings with MTN, with Globacom, with Airtel, right? Again, pushing me forward, to speak with executives, to prepare, and exactly what Bumi was saying, that you get into the meeting, sometimes people have agenda, and they push the meeting in the direction that is totally off what you prepared for, and you need to be able to make the most of it, right? And so on and so forth. So I did it for a couple of years. And after Huawei, I went to Converse. From Converse, I joined Ericsson. So I've been with Ericsson since 2008 till now. Ericsson, when I joined, I thought I was going to be there for maximum 2 years, right? Because that had been my antecedent. 2 years in Huawei, 1 year in Converse. I thought Ericsson another 2 years and I'm gone. But Ericsson turned out to be, number one, it's a global company. So in Ericsson, I've worked, across 16 countries in Africa, right? After a while, I moved to UAE. So I was in Dubai for 8 years, I believe. And then more recently, I moved here to Seattle. So I still work with Ericsson. So I've been in function in different capacities in Ericsson. I've been solution architect. I've been a line manager. I've been manager of manager. I've been now I'm a sales director. Right. So I've had different roles. 1 second. In Ericsson. So that's in a nutshell is my career journey, right? But the main point I want to make is the skills that you build right now can accelerate your career projection, right? So progression. So don't take anything that comes your way. This kind of event, you're learning how to make presentations, simple PowerPoint, right? Those skills, you're going to need them in the industry. You're doing a business and you need to document everything you're doing in Excel and create some macros behind it. You'll be surprised that when you go into the industry, those skills are going to be required, right? So make the most of whatever it is that you have now, because you will be able to leverage them going forward. Any other question or comments?
Okay, now we'll be moving on to the announcements of the winners. So now moving on to the announcement of the winners. So starting with the second runner-up, and that will be announced by Mr. Ile-Ife.
Maybe that's not wrong, okay? This is not come back to
So we're looking for you to join the
Mr. Pulu, can you hear me, please?
He said,
So guys, Follow seems to be having some challenges with his internet connection. Okay, so just maybe allow me to announce. Can you hear me? Yeah. So let me just stand in for Follow, right? So what I'll say from what I've seen from the judges is that, you know, it's obviously was a very tight contest. I thank every one of the presenters for the effort they've put into, you know, making their pitch and then, you know, taking us through what they've worked on. Right. I also know that, you know, 10 minutes doesn't give you a lot of time to do justice to 1 year plus of research. It's very difficult, right? So So we're grateful for all the presentations, right? But at the end of the day, we still have to have one person identified as a winner, and we also need to get that done, right? So coming in third position is actually a very unique person, right? I personally liked the project, almost like my favorite of all the presentations, because I could very quickly see, practical use for it. But then it is what it is. The assessors have scored, and coming in third position is Doing Arewa. Congratulations, Doing.
Okay.
So right now we're going to be presenting announcing for the first runner and
Okay, can I go ahead?
Presenting for the first runner out there together. This is
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you everyone that participated. To all our presenters, you have all done very well. Quite generally impressed with all the presentation that we've had today. So the second runner-up is drum rolling and rolling and rolling, and it's no other person but Victor Olufemi. Congratulations, Victor. Congratulations.
Counters get up on the play. Announcing the winner for FUTURUM season 1.0 is Mr. Kes Atuyota. Are you online, please?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay, just give me a moment. I'm just validate what I'm seeing here. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly, Kes.
All right. Okay, so my mind just went back to all those things we used to watch in those days. Was it this what Big Brother and all the rest? So I will first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations to all the participants. It's been a fantastic presentation. Of course, it's not perfect. There's still room for improvement. We'll be giving some feedback later on. But I think you guys are going in the right direction. I'm happy, leaving the Ife many years ago, probably 20-something years ago. It gives me a lot of joy as I see you guys, because I see very, very bright futures, intelligent folks, and people who will change the industry. So without further ado, the winner of the inaugural series of the FUTURUM Awards is going to Mr. Emmanuel Olateju. So congratulations, well done. I think what you've done is something very, very innovative, and congratulations. All right. Back to the MC.
Can we make us?
Can I block the project of
No, don't worry, it's okay. Okay, yeah, you can.
It's not showing. Please stop. Your stuff.
I would like to call on Dr. Adedayo Omotunde of FUTURUM 1.0. Come together for Dr. Adedayo Omotunde.
So hi, once again, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I know it's been a couple of hours, but I trust that you've had fun, and you know, beyond that, you've learned from the various projects that were presented to us. You know, at least a few new ideas of what's possible, and I'm super happy, to see the kind of quality of presentations that we received here today, because it then shows that the future is quite bright, right? And we're already headed in the right direction. So let me just take a moment to express my gratitude, to everyone who has made this first season of the FUTURUM Innovation Awards a huge success. First, I want to thank Professor Lori, the current head of department, who graciously endorsed the event on behalf of the university, right? I also want to very specially thank the faculty and the staff of the department, particularly Dr. Wale and Dr. Offion, who supported the event in various ways. They helped in coordinating the logistics, right, in planning, how the assessment is going to be handled and so on. So I'm very grateful, right, for all that you've done. Of course, I also want to express my gratitude to the assessors for the time and dedication, they put into evaluating each project thoroughly. There was some pre-work that the participants submitted. The assessors looked at the pre-work. They've been there throughout this session today, 4 hours thereabouts. So I'm very grateful for that, right? I'm also grateful for the team of volunteers who handled the registration, the ushering, making sure that everything just, worked seamlessly in the back end. We're very grateful for that. And of course, I cannot forget the event management team, right? So we had event managers, traveling all the way from Ibadan to work out so many of these logistics and the practicalities. So I'm very grateful to the event management team. And finally, of course, I'm grateful to all the students who participated in this competition. The level of creativity, the hard work, the dedication, what you put into it was evident in the high quality of projects that you presented. And I know this is prime time for you as well, because your exams are starting just next week. So trying to carve out time to prepare for all these things that you've done, in the middle of exam. I know it's not easy, so I'm very grateful for that. So on behalf of everyone involved in the final year project completion, I want to express my sincere thanks to everyone who has contributed to its success, right? As I mentioned while the assessors were in their breakouts, we'll continue this. Season 2 is going to be bigger and better, right? And season 3 is going to be even much bigger, right? So we're looking forward to seeing, continued success of this initiative. Thank you once again. And for those in Nigeria, do have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Dr. Adedayo. Those the end of FUTURUM school. Thank you for coming out. Can all the presenters please come out and take a photograph of the judges, please? All presenters. If you're still online, it's possible that we have you trying to take a picture of how I can give you.
Hello. Yeah, thanks.
Let's have some people here this side. So let's take a picture of this and round up.
So I think you guys can just say, let's say after 1, 2 go, you just say maybe FUTURUM 1.0. You can do that, right?
Yeah, 1, 2, go. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, go.